Welcome to Empower Her Brand, building an online business. So like I said, this is going to be the foundation of your business's branding. And for some of us, we're trading, we're making profit. Some of us are still trying to validate our businesses, scaling, starting. It doesn't matter. We have to be able to build our business on really strong foundation. So whether you maybe have to come back and look at this, it might be, but I promise you, for every single time I look at branding in the 20 odd years of my career in the digital world, it has always made a difference. Always made a difference. I see it in the profit margins. So really important. So some of you had your cameras on, which is great, but we always love seeing you at the Women in Digital Business. There are times where I have headscarves on, I have no makeup. This is a place where you get to turn up and just be you. Okay, you don't need to put any type of face on, hair on, nothing like that. This is somewhere where you can come and you just simply get to be you. And I really want everybody to embrace that. So I've asked everyone to introduce themselves in the chat. If you haven't, please do go ahead and let us know your name, where you're dialing in from, watching in from, whatever you want to call it, and just what your business does. It's interesting. It helps me as well in terms of making sure we are always providing content. It's really going to help you get along with your online journey. So what are we going to be looking at today? Today, we're going to be looking at the definition of a brand style guide. And that is going to be one of your tasks from today's session, is to be able to go away and really be able to put a brand guideline together for your business. It's essential. So I want to talk about the importance of a brand style guide, why I'm saying that. We're going to be looking at the dangers of having no brand style guide and what that means, and just the elements of a brand style guide. So your brand story, your logo, color palette, typography, brand voice, your imagery guidelines. And we're just going to conclude and just kind of look at, okay, what are the big boys doing here? Like, these are some of their official brand guidelines. So we should be working towards that. We should be working towards industry standard. So what is a brand guideline? Okay, so a brand guideline is, think of it like a brand Bible. Okay, that's the best way that I can think about it. And we all hear expressions like, we all need to be singing from the same hymn book. We all hear these things and we all understand it. But the problem is we don't always implement it. And sometimes, because there's so much coming at us, we don't know where to start. And that's what the Women in Digital Business community is. It's here to provide strategic thinking in this digital world so you can unclutter your mind and really become focused and get your businesses to work. So we've heard of all these expressions, but you really are going to be creating a brand Bible. It means that anybody working within your organization, it means any suppliers you might be working with, it means anybody you might be partnering with, is very clear about what you do, what you stand for, and that consistency is right the way through your business. Because when it is, guess what? Your customer also gets it straight away. When you get to that awareness stage of the customer value journey. What it is that we do here in the Women in Digital Business community is really be able to teach you how to put together a successful digital marketing sales funnel. How do you make someone aware of your business? How do you collect their details? And how do you keep marketing to them so they actually turn into sales, and keep perfecting that so you then get growth, you get traction, and you get scalability? And it starts with having a brand Bible. So it really contains specifications on everything that plays a role in the look and feel of your brand. Okay, it contains everything brand related, from typography, color and logos, imageries, absolutely everything. It specifies how to present your brand to the world. So be it that you're a personal brand, or be it that you're a business brand, also understanding about business that even if you're thinking, well, it's not me, it's my brand, it's separate from me. It's not. A brand is like you giving birth to a business. That's why usually in the UK, we would have a limited business or a corporation in other parts of the world, because it's its own entity. But a brand is born out of you. So you also need to establish at this stage, am I promoting my personal brand or am I promoting my business brand? But understand that your business brand was born out of your personal brand. So if nobody in the world knows who your business brand is, you need to start with yourself, because people buy people. And then you need to figure out how from there do you then start to establish that business brand. So, I always say to my children, there really was a Mr. Tesco's, there really was a Mr. Sainsbury's. My son said to me once, Mummy, I want to be a cashier in the supermarket. And I'm thinking, are you crazy? After all the things and opportunities and the way that I bust my backside to make sure that you've got, you know, the best opportunities that I can possibly give you and expose you to in the world, you want to tell me you want to be a checkout cashier? And he's like, yeah, but in Roblox, you get that everyone has to pay and you make all that money. And I had to explain to him, Nathaniel, when that store first came out, there really was a Mr. Tesco's and Sainsbury's, but now they're a business owner and they have other people that work for them. But it's really strange how children just simplify things. So yeah, just remember that a brand has to be born out of a personal person. If you look at all case studies, Richard Branson, you know, he was notorious in my day for doing PR stunts and getting his name out there, which then got Virgin, the brand, out there. Steve Jobs, Apple, did it really well. Mark Zuckerberg, Michael Jordan's a beautiful example of how he used his personal brand and put it on a pair of trainers and it became a household name. So just understand the difference between personal and business branding. And if your business is brand new, understand that people are going to want to know you and understand your why first. Then they get to know what you created, which is the business. So just take that into account. So let's look at the importance of a brand style guide. And as I'm going along, guys, any questions that you've got, please feel free to put them in the chat. If I see them, I'll answer them. Sometimes I'll go along, or I will answer them at the end. And the reason why I say that is because quite often when I'm on these workshops, if I've got to wait right the way to the end, I often forget what it is that I wanted to ask. So ask as you go along, please do. And if you want to share anything that I'm speaking about and you resonate with, please share. I always say sharing is caring. I think as women, that's one of the things that we do really great. We are able to be learners. So when you're in this environment, I try to encourage learning off of each other. So if you want to put something in the chat and share, please do. Okay, and look, there's a little chat message that come in. So now I'm just tempted to have to look. Hey, it's Princess, our community manager. So if you need any help or direction, anything while we're going through this workshop, please reach out to her in the chat. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where these masterclasses will be published for the replay and any of the other ones that you have missed. So now that I've finished with our little advert break, so the importance of a brand style guide. A brand style guide literally is a directory or a key document that helps a business establish consistency in how it presents itself to the world. Consistency, you see, ladies, is what builds trust. Think about when you meet someone. If they're consistent, you build trust and you break down the barriers of intimacy a lot more quicker. There's a book called The Law of Attraction. It's all about relationships. When you relate that to marketing and the customer journey and building a sales funnel, it really gets you to start thinking in more of a human to human way in what is a very technical digital world. And that's one of the greatest things about mastery and about digital strategies. It's at the core of everything that we do here. It's having the ability to be able to take something that is human with human senses, the 5 senses, and being able to communicate that through tech and bring the human and human element into technology, and really being able to understand the human needs and the world needs and how does that work digitally. When you start to break down that barrier, your brain starts to think about things very, very differently. We are in the digital age and there's no going back. So it's either you get on board and get your head around it, or there will be a being left behind. It will be a Blockbusters to Netflix situation. So a brand style guide is trust. You want to create trust. Trust is absolutely key. That's one of the secret ingredients of selling successfully online. And trust comes from human to human interaction. So your question is, okay, what is the problem that I solve? And you need a directory in your brand document that really gets that consistency. How many of you might even log on to something, and even if the URL doesn't seem right, you'll think, oh, I don't know if I should trust that, especially in this day and age. So when you come into contact with a business you've never been into contact before, and you start seeing things like a Yahoo or a Gmail or a Hotmail business email address, what does that do for you? When the URL might have Wix, or, you know, you can see that it's actually being built on Kajabi or whatever software that you're using. It doesn't fill you with confidence that you can trust the person to do what they say that they're doing. Makes sense? So understand, for you as a new business or a business that's unknown, you need to be able to create that trust and think about absolutely everything that goes with that. Okay, so the best brand style guides aim to rule out any inconsistency in visual communication. We want to get that standardization. There's been a big shift on high streets. For those of you who are based in the UK, have you noticed that on a high street, you'd get lots of like bric-a-brac stores? Now, even the smallest businesses, they are so well branded. They'll even sometimes, even when you look at the fried chicken market, for example, they even use the same colors as KFC, for example, but it's not KFC, but they've created a really clean looking brand that makes you feel like, okay, it's not KFC, but it looks decent. The colors, you're associating it. So it makes you feel comfortable to eat from somewhere that maybe you're more trustworthy with KFC. Make sense? So having that guide just makes sure that everybody is on the same page. Okay, it's a shareable guide, and you should make as much sense as it does to the IT department as it does to the marketing team. Everybody you work with, from accounts, customer service, sales, it doesn't matter. Everybody should be really clear about these brand guideline documents, because it's your Bible and everybody should be on the same page. So it's really important. Without it, you can get suppliers, you can get people that don't follow protocol. And some of the things I'm saying to you, how do you feel as a consumer when you notice things that breaks your trust? If everybody's not on the same page, mistakes start to get made. And it's really, really important. Someone will write you a blog and you'll think, well, that's not true. We don't do that, because you, as the owner of the business, haven't been clear enough to get everybody to understand this is what we stand for. This is what we do. This is the end goal. This is how we're going to get there. And the brand document just makes sure the consistency about everything is the same as it goes out, which means your customer journey becomes a trusted one, which increases conversion. Okay, can't stress that enough. So the dangers of having no brand style guide. What are the dangers? Okay, inconsistency in branding. You know, one minute you see the logo this size, or sometimes even when I look at event listing pages, I looked at something this morning that we actually had out and I thought, oh my gosh, that's a bit blurry, the pixel, because instantly things like blurry content, not quite clear, not centered, little typos, all these little things now add up to create a story in my head that, okay, it's really small, but that's fine, because I love supporting small businesses. But at the same time, if I'm getting to know you and I'm seeing there's other people, what you do in your marketplace, those things are the difference of someone going somewhere else, or you pushing someone to somewhere else. It just breaks trust. There's so many different reasons. So consistency in branding is really clear. Clear is really, really key. You know, you will confuse the customer. The effects on authenticity of the brand, lack of professionalism, it diminishes brand recognition, and it can possibly damage the trust and spending habits of your audience. And that is not what you want to do. Okay, so let's look at the elements of a brand style guide. Okay, so the first element is a brand story, and this is the bit for some of you where it might be like, oh, or you might have done it before, but go back to it. And you should be revisiting this annually. If you want me to be honest with you, you should be revisiting this annually. So a brand story really wraps up a company's vision, mission, and core values in one little nice package. So it's simply put, it's what is your brand promise to your customer? And sometimes, ladies, you might find it's easier to go back to figuring out who is the customer and what is my product offering. You know, have you validated your product offering, and then actually create the brand? Because once you understand more about your customer, the easier it is to create that brand promise, because you understand more in their psychometrics. What do they need from you? It's like a partner. You want to strike a really good relationship with them. And you also need to be thinking, okay, the way that you've got your business model and you've packaged your product and you've made sure that your product is actually viable, does it solve a problem in your customer segment's life that they literally want to bite your hand off and they can see the value in it? Those two things need to align. And then when you wrap your brand story around that, that's when you're really going to resonate. You know, who's ever watched an ad and they feel like, oh my gosh, that's me? Who's ever read a blog or had something where you feel like, you know, you can that person, that brand, what's being said is really relatable to you. Stories are really powerful. And when people don't know who your business is, they want to know who you are. And when they buy from you, when you're buying from a small business, a startup, and you support, you want to know their why. So it's really important that you understand what is your why. And I always say to people, someone asked me this question once, it took me a while to answer it. And I went to answer it straight away, but sometimes you've got to pause in life and think about something. And the question simply was, what makes you fascinating? What is it about you that you feel makes you fascinating? And start from there. Because essentially, in your brand story, what you're communicating is your why. And you really want to be able to connect with your audience in this. So you need to understand who your customer segments are, not just the demographics, but the psychometrics. And one of the things that we're going to be covering in the months to come is customer mapping, and really looking at how do we research, what are the best tools, what are the best frameworks that we can use to really be able to get into the mind of our customers and understand who they are, so we can produce a brand that people connect with, and we can have a content strategy that makes people trust us to get leads and then get sales. Okay. So as an example of the brand story, Apple has a branding strategy that focuses on the emotions. The starting point is how an Apple product experience makes you feel. The Apple brand personality is about lifestyle, imagination, liberty, being regained, innovation, passion, hopes, dreams, aspirations, power to the people through technology. That's what I'm about. Apple buyers don't think, I want this because it's a dual SIM 64GB 12 pixel hexa-core processing smartphone. They think, I want this because it's an Apple phone. And that's a revolution of Apple's story throughout the decades of Apple's existence. And take some time out and look at your competitors' brand stories. Competitor analysis needs to happen at every single stage of the customer journey. Look to see what your competitors are doing, your direct competitors and your indirect competitors. Okay, look and learn, because that will give you a lot. So the second thing you're going to be creating is a logo. So use logo guidelines to create a recognizable brand signature. Okay, and you want to make sure that the guidelines that you set, and how you use your logo, whether it's your signature on your email, if you're sponsoring something to impart joint ventures, you want to make sure that you've got guidelines. And again, brand guidelines would need to go out. At least if you're partnering with someone or you're sponsoring something, they understand exactly who, why, where, what, when through this one document, so they can be an extension of who you're trying to be to your customer to really establish your brand. Okay, so use brand guidelines to create a recognizable brand signature. Identify how your logo should be used by indicating your logo size and every acceptable color variation. Indicate wrong variations. Tell people, please don't use my logo like this. Please don't stretch it this way, that way, vertical, horizontal, stretching it till it looks like it's distorted. You don't want people to do that and think that it's okay. It also sets a level of professionalism about you, what you stand for in your business, and indicate to them the wrong variations of your logo. So your creative team which will know which logo variations aren't acceptable, and you would put that in your actual brand guidelines. You want to create consistency. You want to create professionalism. Okay, so here's some examples. So this is a Spotify logo, and this is what would be on Spotify's brand guidelines. It would say, they would have a page all about the logo, and it says for print what the size is, digital what the pixel size size and everything is. It tells you. Okay, it tells you the acceptable Spotify logos that you can use in the different color variations. If you don't see that color variation there, please don't use it. You could look at your browser and you see those favicons that you see. How many of you have got loads of tabs open if you're anything like me? Those favicons allow you and tell you, okay, which tab are you on? So when you keep seeing that same logo, what does it do? It creates trust. How many of you, when you look and there's no favicon and it's just a raw PDF document, it's somewhere in your subconscious, in the creative side of your mind, you're thinking that business is less of a business than someone else, whether you realize it or not. Think about some of the emotions of how you feel as a customer, okay, or what you think of somebody else's brand. And then look back at your brand as well, and look and see what your competitors are doing. And I promise you're going to get the world of aha moments. But look to see what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. Spotify, again, like I said, they will tell you, this is the wrong use of our logo. Please don't do this. If you're changing fonts, the color of variation that's not there, it tells them. And also it sets a precedency for you as well. So be clear on your color palette. identify like primary brand colors and some secondary shades and stick with it. This was really difficult for me because we did a poll. So what our audience liked with some of our orange tones wasn't necessarily what I wanted to go with, more the pinks and the nudes. When we did our research with our audience, actually underrepresented groups and the audience that connects with us, it was more orange tones. So I kind of blended nude and orange together, and that's how we came up with our brand guidelines. So if you have got an audience already, you know, and you're not just a fresh startup, ask your audience, ask your following. Like if you're re-looking at your brands again and you've got customers or you've got following, go to the customer. If you don't know anything about your business in the digital world, the person you want to answer it is your brand ambassadors and your customers and your following, because that's who's gravitating towards you. And because we are in the digital world, guess what, guys? No more guessing. You don't have to put a brand out there and think, oh, I'm going to do TV ads, magazine ads, newspaper ads, billboards. I'm going to get some flyers up. Guess what? You can put stuff out, make sure you're tracking the data, and you don't have to guess anymore. The data will make the decisions for you, which means you're going to get to your end destination of where you want to be a lot quicker with that type of market intelligence. And that's what makes the digital world so special. So choose your color palettes. Detail the exact hex code for web use, as well as CMYK values and Pantone colors for items that will be printed. And we don't print that much anymore in this day and age. Be really clear around your color palette. Again, it's a level of professionalism that your audience will just make, it will help them trust you more. So the core palette will cover the majority of your needs. It's intentionally small in variety so as not to dilute the brand visuals, which adds to confusion. Okay, so you tend to find there's like about 3 or 4 colors, but there's always going to be a primary color and a leading color. Like for Netflix, it's red. Okay, so this is, again, this would be in Netflix brand guidelines. So Netflix even tells you the red, gives you all the codes. We're not using any other red than the Netflix red. Okay, you know, you've got it's red, black and white, and it tells you all the different colors. So color codes are really important. There's always going to be one that you lead with as a primary color. And it's about that consistency. If you're using one more and the black's in the background and the white is, you know, sometimes a different background color, you've just got to be very, very clear to your first, second and third choice and how you use it. Okay. We always lead with the nude and then the orange, for example. Typography, it's designed to pick a font that matches your visual style and stay consistent. You know, if your audience was all journalists, for example, I might say I'll use Times New Roman because that's a font that they're really used to in journalism. But maybe you're doing something and it's more targeted at kids, even though parents are buying, so you might use the Disney font. Okay, think about what font matches your audience, as of with the colors and as of everything else we've discussed. It centers around your customer. You know, you can pick a primary font and you can pick a secondary font. So here at Women in Digital Business, we've got a headline font, a sub-headline font, and a body font. So we have 3 fonts in our brand guideline. And we will use that across emails, web, print, brochures, social media posts. If anything's getting designed in Canva, it will be the same. Okay, and Canva is a great tool to create this in, by the way, because you've got something that says brand colors. If you're using a template, you can then just click on your brand colors and change something to replicate your brand colors. And same with your font as well. So Canva is a great tool for that. So here's another example: Twitter and Snapshot typography. Okay, they have specific typographies and you won't see them come outside of that. And start looking at some of the brands that, you know, resonate with you, and start looking at some of your competitors and start looking at these types of things. So number 5, a really key one. This and brand story are your 2 big ones that I really want you to spend time on and have a clear mind and focus. And it's your brand voice. Your brand voice is how you speak about your company, how you describe your products, and you communicate with your customers. It's really important. You know, what does your brand represent? Is it more the funny one? Is it more, you know, the sexy one? Is it more authoritative? Is it more educational? Okay, what is your brand voice? Is it more authoritative? You know, is it more that you're the sage? I don't know. What is your brand voice? And think about it, because you grow, and the more content that you have to produce in this online world, you're going to start having copywriters or freelancers. How are you going to be able to train them to get to understand your brand voice? It's through the brand guidelines, because they understand your voice. They can now create content, you know, for you. A great book to read, ladies, is a book called E-Myth. For those of you that are coming from working in the corporate world, or freelancing and contracting, and you're now running your own business or starting your own business, it's really, really important that you're able to, how can I put it? It's really important that you're able to understand how to manage people and how to not keep doing everything yourself, but also empower people to do things the way that you need to get it done. Okay, because one of the biggest problems that those of us that come from corporate backgrounds is feeling like we have to do everything ourselves. So now you just feel like you're a slave for yourself, or getting resourcing, thinking, oh, because I hired an accountant or a copywriter, they know what they're doing, so they can just pick it up and run that part. Okay, everything has to come from you, and that's the branding part. So someone understands, okay, what is the overall goal here? So the brand voice is really, really important. But the book that I'm referring to is called E-Myth. Princess, if you can just drop it in the chat, it's E-MYTH, E-Myth. And it's something that we might, it'll be good to put in the Facebook group, Princess. I think I've got a copy of it that I can share with everyone. So if you're not in our Facebook group, please do join. But E-Myth is a really good place to really start understanding, okay, how will I grow my business? What does my role look like now as a business owner, as opposed to going from actually working in a role? Okay, and having those two different hats on, when you start to look at the difference, because some of you might continue to consult or freelance because you're bootstrapping your business, but they're definitely two different hats. So your brand voice is how you speak about your company, and it describes your products and how you communicate with your customers. It's your brand personality and emotion infused into company communications, particularly communications directed to your consumers. Okay, and as we go into a world now where we're using a lot more AI, I don't know if any of you are using ChatGPT to produce any content. It's an excellent tool, but you have to, what ChatGPT cannot do for you is put a personality on that voice. It can give you the content, but your personality, in terms of what's coming through the voice of your business, is absolutely detrimental. Okay, because that's what's going to get people to connect you to them. It's not necessarily the content that you're writing, it's how you bring that content to life, in what voice. That's what people will be following about your service or your product. So it's really, really important. Okay, so if you can understand what your tonality is, now you can use a tool like ChatGPT and just do all the editing. Okay, so really understand, you know, what your brand voice is. Okay, and for those of you that aren't using ChatGPT yet, just sample it out. Just sample it out. Princess, if you can put the link in the chat to sign up for GPT, it's really super simple. Please do put it in the chat. I think one of them come with a YouTube video. If you've got the chance, that'll be great. Because those of you that haven't tried it out and you're producing content, please do. We're probably going to run a masterclass on it as well. So a brand voice can have any style, as long as it feels true to your brand values and persona. Be it authoritative, be it playful, be it intellectual, ominous, kind, fun, quirky, okay? It has to feel true to your brand. It has to fall into your why. Do you understand what your brand does? It humanizes what you do to your customer to make them feel like they're open to connect with you. And when you can do that and make them aware and go through the customer journey and create that sales funnel, that's where the power and the momentum of putting content comes out. Because you can put content out every day, 5 times a day. If it's not connecting with the audience, to be quite honest with you, it's just not landing anywhere, and it's really hard for you to grow your business. Okay. Oh, sorry, it should be next slide. And I went way too far. There we go. There we go. So example of brand voices, you know, brand voices, words like free, share, whole world, sustainability, baboon, calls. You know, we don't like words like, you know, telephony, like putting labels on people. People want to be connected to by how they feel, by their views, by their opinions, by their struggles, by their difficulties. Okay, your brand voice should really be emotive. Okay, it shouldn't be technical. And just remember that, because for some of us, with the roles that we've got, especially for those of you that might be starting SaaS or tech businesses, which are really technical, sometimes it's really easy behind all of the technology and the problem that it solves, to then change that into a creative human to human type of communication, which is content. And really, that's what you want to do. That's the magic of connecting with people. So example of brand voices in content marketing could be a blog post being useful, helping people, teaching people. You don't write a blog post to waste people's time, do you? Okay. Examples of a brand voice in social media, it could be something that's formal, typically behind the scenes content, wow factor, our people and our work, nothing remotely close to a call to action. So on social media, brand voice is about our people, our work. It's about community. It's about emotion. And it's always making sure you close on a call to action, like from reading something, from consuming content and connecting to it. What is it that you want your prospect to do afterwards? And it all starts from your brand. Okay, your brand voice comes out, in your web elements and user experience, intuitive, got it. Intuitive icon graph. I can't get any of the words out today. Iconography. I can't get the words out, but I think you get what I mean. It's about using intuition and navigation. We now live in the world where we all use smartphones worldwide, developed, undeveloped. We all use smartphones. Okay, and there's an intuition because we know exactly what to do because we're so used to swiping up, swiping down, knowing how the menu goes. Google could come out with Word, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides because they're exactly the same as Microsoft's PowerPoint, Word, and spreadsheets, Excel, sorry. We've got a familiarity with web elements and technology. So our brand voice actually even comes out in the web elements and the user expression. Plain English, language that's understood, not reading something and not understand. Like I said, being intuitive to your audience and knowing what they're like and where things are and how they're used to navigating. These are all parts of your brand voice when you're having to explain things. And your content should always have a call to action. Not only should it have your brand voice in it, it should always have a call to action. Learn, like more, sign up. It should lead to somewhere, whether it's tracking it, it's pixel related, it's data related, it's a straight conversion for sales, it's collecting a lead, doesn't matter. There should be a call to action. And when you're starting out, you don't want too many call to actions because you want to start figuring out what works from what doesn't. Okay, so, and again, your call to action is going to have a brand voice. Is that brand voice really controversial, something that you pull out? Is it very invitational? That brand voice is going to come through in your call to action. If you're an authoritative brand tone, it'll be like, and register now before it's too late and you regret it and your life will end in disaster all because you didn't come. That might work for your audience, okay? It might not. Brilliant. Oh, thanks, Princess. I see the chat GPTs in there. Also, do let us know in the chat how many of you here are using chat GPT. There's something we're thinking about running a masterclass on. And if you're listening to this afterwards or you're in our Facebook community, I'm interested to know how many of you would like a masterclass on chat GPT. So please do put it in the comments wherever you are listening to this from. So brand voice is even in your content marketing. It's really, really key. Imagery guidelines. Again, I can't stress how key this is. This is why from the beginning, when it comes to your brand, it's really good to put like mood boards together, vision boards. This is something, again, we're going to be looking at in one of our masterclasses towards the end of this year as we come into January. And it's really, about looking at where you're going for the next year. But imagery and brand style guides are really important. Photos, illustrations, charts, infographics. I'm really picky. Even just last week, I saw something on LinkedIn that one of our partners posted and the image just wasn't us. So I politely just sent an email saying, is it possible to change the imagery that's gone out with the blog we put together on their blog post? I just didn't like it. It didn't fall in line with our brand guidelines. And what do you think I did? I was able to send our brand guidelines. They had a clear idea of what image to use. And it's something that, it's just something that it's really easy to forget how important imagery is. Think about when you're buying clothes and you're buying things, you like to see imagery that how you see yourself in your head, your vision or imagery of people that might look like you or have the same shape as you. Because that's what creates communities, that's what creates tribes. Imagery is a really key part of this. All of it's key. I don't know if you can see how important all these elements that we've gone through today are, especially when you now put them together. And again, it's not something that you've got to go back to the beginning of looking at your website and looking at all your digital assets. It's not, you can't just decide, okay, we'll rebrand this little bit and not the other, because you won't be able to do all elements. So implement data visualization guidelines for future customers and illustrations. Okay. So, composition, shadows, how to produce cohesive styles. Like, we love using overlays. If you use photographs in your branding, a style guide should identify really the type of composition and the level of complexity of photographs that fit with your brand. Okay, really important. Really, really important. And this is not the easiest thing to do. And this is where some of you might say, right, I've got a graphic designer, because it's making sure that everything is congruent. So here is an example of, I love an example, Shopify illustration guides. So what they're saying is that, okay, imagery should be considerate, it should be useful, it should be focused. Infographics work really well. It's a really great way to visually demonstrate something without loads of text, that just, visually someone can map it out and see what you're speaking about. Most of us are very visual creatures. I'm dyslexic, so I'm an incredibly visual person. I have to map my whole business plan out with visual tools and aids. Again, if that's a masterclass that you want to do, business mapping, please do let us know. If there's any subjects or topics that you feel like would be really useful, please do always suggest them to us. Okay. So to conclude, can you see how important your brand guideline is? And hopefully today has given you, okay, do I need to go back and recreate them? Actually, brush that dirt off my shoulder. I've pretty much got it. It's a few tweaks. Are you right at the beginning of your journey? You've got an even better understanding of what needs to be done. Because for many of us that start businesses, I know that I redid my brand guidelines, I would say 3 to 5 times on all my businesses before I saw the figures that I wanted to see in terms of what it produces. Okay, so branding is important. It's just the foundation of everything. So, just to conclude, identify your brand story. These are your action points of what needs to be done. Again, this replay will be going out on YouTube, or please do take a print screen or take a picture. So you want to identify your brand story. You want to come up with logo guidelines. You want to come up with guidelines that includes all of this, to be fair. But a part of it will be specific guidelines about your logo, all the color codes, how to use it, not use it. You want to, number 3, stick to your brand's color palette. Pick those color palettes, put all the codes together, CMYK, the RAG, REX even, put all of that together. All of that should be in there. What are your colors? What are the exact colors? And which one is your primary color? Which is the color that is going to be leading at the forefront, just like the Netflix red? Find your brand typography. What type of typography is your audience going to be compelled to? Is it more rounded, casual, modern, children, like official? Okay. And that leads you nicely into really defining your brand voice. And if you research these things, you'll find loads on it. And again, there's branding workshops actually on the my YouTube channel. Okay. So define your brand voice. That's really, really key. And hopefully I've got that point across. Formulate imagery guidelines that fit with your brand visual. So when people are using imagery, they're not just putting out the sky what they think. They're quite clear on what your imagery guideline is and what you want to fall in line with. When you do this and your customer sees it over and over again, they trust you, they understand what you do, and it lowers the barrier of going over to that conversion stage. It really does, because you lose a lot of customers. The very first stage of that customer journey, also known as the digital sales funnel, is making your audience aware of you. And if you don't get this part right, the brand's not going to land with the audience. There's going to be a disconnect in the very first stage of the customer journey, which means now you're just starting on a really bad foot to be able to get that funnel working and churning out content, getting engagement, getting details, remarketing through CRM, email, mobile phone number, converting into a sale, exciting your audience to upsell them. From upselling them, now you've got people that are raving, you've got raving fans, feeding that content and engagement back into the awareness stage to bring more people into your funnel without having to pay so much on marketing. You know, it's about creating a journey that's very intentional. And before you can even start that awareness and start really strategizing on how do I put a funnel together to build my business up, the branding part is really, really key. Okay, you have to be able to get the messaging right. And to do that, you need a brand style guide. So these are examples of brand style guides. There was Netflix, Spotify, Google, and these can all be found online. Brand style guide directory. Again, take a print screen. Once you just type that into Google, you don't have to type the whole URL in. It will come up. So again, take a snap, or like I said, this replay will be going out on YouTube. So if you are in a place where that made total sense to you, but you're still in a pickle of like, how does that fit in where I am? What do I need to go back to? What do I put on pause? What do I keep going with that this doesn't affect? And just being able to put a plan together that you can actually implement and get it done, and get done what you need to get done. So if you're feeling like you're unsure, or you have no idea to where to begin to even implement what we spoke about today, or you're not sure what your business needs the most, you're doing things but you're just reacting day to day. You know, if you don't understand your audience, you're not getting the sales that you need. You know you've got a great product or service, but maybe it's the audience. Is there a disconnect? You're not really understanding them. You don't know them well enough to understand how to package your business and product so it's quite clear to them that it solves a problem that they've got. Sometimes for many, many businesses, the proposition is not clear, so that your customer doesn't get it and they move on. And the problem can often be as simple as that. You know, you've tried everything on your own and you're chasing your tail. You're feeling like you're following one person here, doing this, you're doing reels, you're doing content, you're trying to go to networking events, you're trying to build the business, get used to technology, and it just feels like everything you're doing is not working. If that is how you feel at the moment, and you're just struggling to sustain and boost your monthly revenue, you're not bringing in the money that you need or want, or working towards in a fast enough manner of the goal that you set, please check out the goal setting masterclass if you haven't, because that's really key. If you are feeling any of those ways and you do need some help of where to start and put structure and strategy, please do join our digital bootcamp. It's 3 days. It's like a couple of hours across 3 days with like worksheets, resources. You get bite-sized lessons, and after those lessons you have to do all the resource sheets I provide you, which at the end of the 3 days actually provides you with a clear understanding and customer profiling of who your customer is. So I think you've heard from today, knowing who your customer is absolutely key. So you could get to know who your customer is. I'm going to ask you a range of questions to really get into the heads of all your customer segments. So it's really going to help with your content. We're going to look at how we don't leave money on the table. You know, quite often as a business, we leave a lot of money on the table. What do I mean by that? Within our strategy, we haven't really thought about, how do I increase the amount of customers I'm getting? How do I increase the actual transaction size? How do I increase the frequency of when people's buying from me? And also, it's all very well speaking about these things sometimes, but what a lot of workshop and courses don't do is show you an example of what you're talking about, of proven methods of this is how sales funnels look. These are the types of results that you get. So also spend some time looking at other funnels so you can really get a feel for the visuals. All the things we've spoken about, brand guidelines, say you can get a feel of what does that look like for other organizations, so you can almost benchmark yourself. It gives you confidence. Like when you know, okay, I'm going in the right direction. So that's what the 3 days are really about. And I could bang on all day about the value. Just to get straight to the point, by the way, it's $27. So please don't feel like I'm here trying to give you some big upsell. I'm not. I'm trying to help you empower yourselves, and I want to empower you by giving you the information you need at just a simply no-brainer price, because it's what should happen. I spent so much money on this journey trying to better myself, grow, and get my online businesses to really work. And I did take a lot of useful information and content from many different coaches, communities, and educators. And they've all helped me get to where I'm going today. But quite often they were just overpriced. And some of the things were just so basic that had someone just explained it to me, I didn't need to pay £10,000 for it. And then on top of it, do some more Facebook advertising to lose some more money. I've lost a lot of money on this journey, and Women in Digital Business is just a community I've created to be able to tell you, not to do all the things that I did that didn't work. Like, these are the things to avoid on the digital journey. I've done it firsthand. Okay, you don't want to know how much money I've spent or how much money I've lost. I now understand how to make money. So the idea of this community is to really be able to help. You know, if our parents and dads and family would know a JP Morgan or a Clark shoe shop, we would know how to make shoes, or we would know how to invest. A lot of the things is because we don't come from a world or a place as underrepresented groups where our parents or our environment have said, this is how you do it. It's not second nature. You know, my children are like 9, 8 and 10, 8, 10 and 6. They can tell you like what interest rates are. I didn't have the luxury of anybody explaining that to me at that age. You know, one of them's actually starting their YouTube channel. I didn't have the luxury of having someone to say, this is exactly how you do it. So this community is just all about providing value, not to be cheap or a business model, because we deserve to know it, because actually underrepresented groups are opening businesses up in the digital space at the fastest rate. Okay, so that's the reason why I do it. So that's the three-day boot camp. Like I said, it's a no-brainer price. I've put a lot of work into it. At the moment, we're also working on another course that you will start straight after this to build out your whole customer journey, that we're going to be launching in a few months. So for you to do this now puts you in great stead to do that. And like I said, this is high value content. Everything I learned is a lot of it from overseas in America, working with big names, going to big conferences, being on big, huge mastermind groups. And it's about bringing it back and putting it into this community to be able to help you. So you're never going to have a problem around pricing. I just want you to understand, please don't devalue our information. It's not cheap because it's not a lot. That's not the reason. I'm just going to say it as it is, because unfortunately in psychology, when something is a lower price or it's free, we tend to feel like it doesn't have much value, because let's face it, that is a trend of what we see. That's not what we do here. We give amazing value, but we want to make sure that you know, we can help everybody get to where they want to be, because the digital space is a space where you can generate and create wealth. It's opening up a bracket for wealth, but you do have to know what you're doing. So please do join. Here is a QR code on the screen. There's a URL. And Princess, if you could put the URL in the chat, that would be absolutely amazing. And while this screen is up, I just want to take the time to open the chat and look at some of the messages. And if you've got any questions about your business, how you're feeling, anything you want to share, any questions you might have about our community, simply put them in the chat or come off mute. I love to hear from all of you. I'm going to leave this screen up so you've got the QR code. And like I said, the link is in the chat. So let's see. And like I said, Phil, I'm just going to go through the messages. Keep putting the questions in and anything you've got to say in the chat. Here we go. So what have I got here? So we've got, that was Lorna. So Victoria, I'm Victoria. I run a digital agency. Ooh, love it. Vortent, working with small businesses and everything digital. Brilliant, Victoria. And we're actually building our community up for a space where you can all come and find freelancers and people that you can work with, that you can trust to be able to grow your business on the digital journey. So watch out for that. Hi everyone, welcome. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Obviously that's our Princess, so please do. Have a go with ChatGPT, by the way. So Lorna said, I've explored ChatGPT. I use it on an ad hoc basis, but with my essence in my tone of voice. I love that, Lorna. I love me a little essence. That makes me even understand your audience even more, by the way. Yeah, you can pay for a subscription that you can put your brand tone of voice in. And I think I might trial it out, so I'll let you all know how it goes. At the moment, I'm on the free version. I do find it really useful for writing blogs, writing partnership proposals, expression of interests, anything like that. I have been finding it useful. But I think you can pay and you can have more of your brand voice in there. Obviously, it's never going to be totally human-like. This is the start of the AI revolution. But yeah, I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'll let you know how it goes, Lorna. Michelle said, I recently started using to help build my website, www.thetravelk.com. Brilliant. Love the fact that you put that link in. Is the boot camp available for America as well? Yes, it most definitely is. There's a few quite a lot of Canadians actually, and our American audience is growing and growing and growing. Most definitely, this is a place for underrepresented women, mainly those of us that are somewhat from the Atlantic slave trade and can't, trace back to a certain point and just feel like, we could need some help going forward. But it's not just that; it's underrepresented. Maybe it's your dialect. It's something where you don't see yourself. So most definitely America is definitely available. This is golden. Thank you, Natalia. Your broken branding down is a no nonsense way. Thank you, Lorna. So I'm not actually a branding coach because I'm quite digital sales funnel. That means a lot. Thank you. Lena said thank you. Thank you. I'm also free chat BT, but yeah, tailor my own voice and output. Yeah, you just edit it. But it does save you time in your day. Boots sounds good. And what may I need? It's literally a couple of hours across a few days. You might decide to do it in one whole day, but you've got all the worksheets and you're left with absolutely understanding who your audience is, your brand, and really understanding, okay, now I understand what a digital sales funnel is, ready to start building out that customer journey. $27.
Can I ask a quick question on that,
Yes,
Natalia?
please do.
On that, today is just great. Your energy is really quite infectious, so I just want to share that as well. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your expertise and knowledge on this. With the boot camp and doing whether we do it, I know are you going to take us through the 3 days? Or is it going to be a case of we have it and we work through it, or do we work through it together? If there are any examples that we may need to share. So if I say, okay, I've got a wellness brand and my audience is, are you going to help us along the way? Or are we going to have the boot camp, then use our worksheets with the questions that you pose to us and look at our brand and implement that? And then do we come back to you and share so that we can get, an exchange of service, exchange of communication? That's
exactly what it is, Lorna. So at the moment, the building out your customer journey, we open up the membership site end of October, November. So the idea is to get everybody on the same page, because what's happened in the past, and I've run masterminds, everybody's not been on the same page. And I've been a part of masterminds like that. Sometimes I'll either get lost and I think, okay, this is not, you guys are, because on masterminds, most of these guys are like well over 7 figures. So they'll get to parts where I'm like, I'm lost now.
Yeah.
So what I've learned in my masterminds now is if everybody's on the same page, we become more powerful as we sit around the table, because you can help other women. You've also got a clear idea of what are the goals. So even all these masterclasses, Lorna, you're spot on. I have specifically put the content together to lead us up to the stage of building out our customer journey together. When you've got that strategy, that funnel, it's all tracked, it's set up, and you know what you're doing. That's when your business and the magic starts. But yeah, you're right, the foundation steps. And it's taken us 3 years to learn that. I've been busting my brains on how do I help women, especially women of colour, more. So that's why any feedback that anybody's got at the moment, we have gone data mad looking at everything about who our customer is, because we really want to come up with a community that 10 years from now, it's like, did you know this business, almost like a Shark Tank, but for women of colour, where, we can find some great talent and showcase it. So I'm just figuring out what everybody needs the most. So yeah, you're right. Stay a part of our community, because I'll be working with everyone to build a strategy out. But I've realised I can't do it unless everybody's on the same page. From the previous masterminds, some people get lost. Some people want more because they're ready to scale and their business has done really well. This puts us all on the same footing.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Lovely to have you, Lorna. Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
We got someone else here. Well, I love this. My name is Virginia and I am a solicitor, and I've been requested to build my own brand. I'm at the start of my journey, and I have posted one post on LinkedIn and have been responding to conversation in respect of given topic. The reason why that message, Virginia, really sticks out to me is that you're in the legal field, and these type of traditional fields are a bit behind on digitalization, and the space is not as crowded as other sectors. So girl, you need to make sure you take a piece of the pie, because this is an open market for me. the legal industry is going to change massively with digitalization, and not just digital marketing, down to digital currencies, how we buy properties, how we might buy leases, because who's going to walk around as the economy keeps growing with billions of pounds in a suitcase? And you know, in the legal industry, the transactions are very large sizes, so it's not just digital marketing. You're going to see a difference in the way how we exchange and pay for services in the legal field, the way that we do things because of software and the change. So I just feel like, yeah, Virginia, this is a really good place for you to start thinking, how do I build a community and lead on from writing that blog, so when you are ready to launch your own business, you've got an audience to launch to. So for those of you that are in startup phase, you don't need to feel like, oh my gosh, let me get it together if she's releasing this thing in October, November. No, as long as you know what you want to do, don't stretch yourself thinly and then you don't get the results that you want. Then focus on just building a community and leads, and that will be your focus. That will be your strategy. But one of the problems is why we fail is because we're trying to do it all at the same time, and it has to be chunked out and paced out. And I wasted so much time just like charging. I was like one of those, you know, when you watch those old shows and they're in the Colosseum, I was literally like the man with the sword just charging all the time and falling off their horse and getting back up again, doing the same thing over and over again, getting frustrated, until I realized one day, pace yourself. And then it happened. So yeah, really important. So yeah, I'm excited for you, as you can tell. I just think that sector is a sector that's got a lot of growth opportunity. And there's some other things that we'll be doing. For some people, it might be like, I want to be an Amazon seller, but I want to pick something that I can sell that's going to be profitable, which is more like the affiliate. You're using digital strategies really just to make an income. You might not necessarily be passionate about it, but at the same time, these are some of the things we're going to be discussing as well. There's a lot of gaps in the market. And even if your business is in a saturated marketplace, start thinking about, how do I differentiate myself so much I'm not with the sharks and in the middle of this busy place? You just got to start thinking outside the box. As usual, I can't help myself, I've run over. Thank you all of you. Thank you for all your input. Thank you for all your comments. Please do make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, Princess, if you could put the Facebook group in there, you know, because we often sometimes put resources in there. If it's not your platform, totally understand it. But please do, if you are on Facebook, join the group. Yeah, and make sure we're here next week. Next week is the last one of our summer series. So many people have got holidays. It tends to go really quiet. And then we're going to be coming back big, badder and better in September, where we'll be doing monthly masterclasses. So if you haven't signed up for next week's event, please make sure you sign up for next week's events. Victoria has says, we have clients who are solicitors. As an agency, I agree with this program. Brilliant. Oh, thank you, Lorna. Thank you. I'm going to go and stuff my face now, guys. I didn't have breakfast. I've done half a stone in the last month. So I've got to keep on the journey, because I am one of those typical lose it, put it back. I'm a yo-yo. I'm an Oprah. I love food, but yeah, I'll be doing well. So I'm keeping on this momentum and this journey.
You keep going. You keep going, Queen. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, have a really, really blessed Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you connect with us. I look forward to seeing some of you in the boot camp. And I'll see some of you on our platforms, because we've got loads coming up. Take care. God bless. And I genuinely love you all.